Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Why Go Mobile, presented by Meetings Focus with Kevin Long, Vice President of Marketing and Operations with Crowd Compass by Cvent. Also joining us today is Leanne Nienhuis, Education and Customer Programs Manager with the American Public Power Association, and Chelsea Morris, Marketing Coordinator with McGlinchey Stafford. My name is Zach Shuto, and I'm the Content Director of Features and News for Meetings Focus, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to this webinar today. We have several webinars on a variety of topics that are very important in the meetings industry, so we hope you'll join us for them all. And also want to mention that Meetings Focus has a wide variety of e-newsletters as well, including our popular Meetings in a Minute, as well as our reformatted magazine. So be sure to check out our website when you can at meetingsfocus.com. We'd like to kick things off today with a brief polling question. A pop-up should appear on your screen momentarily. And please just enter the number of people watching this event with you, and please do make sure to include yourself with that entry. To answer the question, simply select your response and click Submit. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Wanted to let everybody know that today's webinar is worth 1 clock hour of strategic planning credit toward the CMP application through the CIC. And to receive credit for attending this webinar, you must be present for the full hour. Downloads and CMP credit information may be found after you complete the survey at the end of the presentation. And you will also receive a free ebook for completing the survey. The ebook is called Mobile Apps, the New Event Essential, and it's packed with actionable items to help your organization understand the importance of mobile apps. And upon completion of the brief survey, you will be taken to the Meetings Focus webinar club page to obtain your credit. We also encourage everyone to ask questions during the presentation. You may submit your questions at any time by typing your question in the Ask a Question box below the speaker photo on the left-hand side of the slide deck and hitting send. And time allowing, we will have a brief Q&A session following the presentation. If you have any technical difficulties, please send a message in the Q&A area or call us at 800-553-8878. Lastly, the sound for today's webinar will come through your computer speakers. Please make sure they are turned up and take note of the volume adjuster located below the speaker photo. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's speakers, Kevin Long, Leanne Nienhuis, and Chelsea Morris. Kevin Long is VP of Marketing and Operations at Crowd Compass, Cvent. Kevin helps event organizers incorporate mobile in their planning and marketing strategies and educates them on how to successfully launch a mobile event app so it turns attendees into ambassadors and sponsors into family, making events more popular. Leanne Nienhuis is the Manager of Education and Customer Programs for the American Public Power Association, the national trade organization representing more than 2,000 publicly owned electric utilities that serve more than 47 million customers across the U.S. For the past 10 years, Leanne has been intricately involved in managing 8 annual conferences for the association. In 2012, she spearheaded the organization's efforts to develop its first conference mobile app and manages the annual development of mobile apps for APPA's 4 largest events. Chelsea Morris is the Marketing Coordinator at McGlinchey Stafford, a full-service law firm providing legal counsel to business clients nationwide. She has over 6 years of experience in traditional marketing methods and 3 years' experience in the legal marketing industry. Before we begin our presentation and pass things over to Kevin, I'd like to quickly review our learning objectives for today's webinar, and they are how the meetings and events industry has grown due to mobile, why your event should go mobile, and what to expect from an event app from your first year to your 5th year. And please don't forget to take the survey at the end of the webinar so you can receive your free ebook called Mobile Apps, the New Event Essential. And now I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our speakers. Welcome.
Great. Thanks so much, Zach. Hi, everyone. This is Kevin Long, the VP of Marketing and Operations at Crowd Compass by Cvent. I'm excited to be on this webinar today because I love talking about mobile. We also have some really great speakers here who have used mobile apps at their events within their companies and organizations. We're going to dive into some of those case studies as well. So looking at the trends and case studies of mobile apps, and Zach mentioned that we're going to go over some of the trends in the industry. We're going to look at these case studies, how and why, so you can really grab some takeaways to be able to apply back with your organizations and events. And then looking at what happens when you're a first-time app user versus a multi-year app user and what are the differences. And again, keep in mind, We do have the mobile apps, the new Event Essential. It's a packed ebook, great use for you launching and developing your mobile app for your organization, which you can get for free after taking the survey at the end. So with that, let's jump in and let's talk about some of the shifts that are happening in corporate America, around the world, and in societies that are going to be changing the way events look at mobile. So the push towards mobile is really pushing new strategies. And the three I want to hit high level before we jump into some of the case studies is that new technologies are the driving force behind the new consumer-led economy. Now, this consumer-led economy concept has come from the Economist Intelligence Unit that did a survey of 1,300 executives globally just last year. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means and what that means for your event. The second thing we want to talk about is how brands are seeing a clear benefit of creating mobile connections between all stakeholders. It used to be, let's create this internal, let's create this external. It still has that, and it's still important, but now the new push we're seeing is let's get everybody together, because having that connection is a big benefit. And the last trend I want to talk about is it's not 2004 anymore. So remember 2004, we all had cell phones. Around 2007, 8, 9, everyone got on the uptake of smart devices. Well, it's now 2014. We're sort of looking back over the last 10 years to help us understand where the projection is going, to understand where it fits with our mobile strategies, with our own events. So with that, let's jump and take a look at these definitions. You have the consumer economy and you have the consumer-led economy. So this first trend, I want to just define it so it's really clear. So Wiki looks at the consumer economy as an economy driven by consumer spending as part of the gross domestic product. So it's part of it. Whereas the economists, and they did this big study with 1,300 executives, we're going to go through some of the facts that came out from that just recently. They define the consumer-led economy as where mobile, social media, cloud computing, all of these technologies have empowered the consumers to be able to share instantly two things. One, their brand disappointment, and had a bad experience at an event, bad experience at a company, bad experience outside in society. Or two, when they actually are sharing those wow moments at the right in the palm of their hand, instantly sharing those wow moments with a brand, with an event, with a coworker, and it's a really big push. So if you look at the power that has shifted over just in the consumer-led economy because of these devices, it's going to make a big difference on everybody's brand and events. So let's look at some of the facts that came out from this global study of 1,300 executives. So one question that was asked was new technologies. Which channels are the most important for customers when they engage with brands? Now you look at, the question was asked for right now. What do these executives see right now as the most important channels? You see things that we're all dealing with in our everyday jobs. Websites are important, email is important, social is important. And then on the end, you see that little blip, mobile apps. Mobile apps are important right now. So they're just starting to get that momentum. But when these 1,300 executives were asked, in the next 3 years, what is going to be the most important channels, you see the huge jump of social and mobile apps moving right to the front of the line. So executives are seeing that mobile is becoming an important part. It's also a reason why we have hundreds of people on this webinar today, because mobile is such a hot topic and it's making such a difference with brands and events. They're trying to figure out how to get into it. So just being on this call is a good first step to know you're on track with this trend because everything's going mobile. The time is now where 54% of senior executives see mobile app as a key instrument to their success, right? And this goes across into the event industry and into when you're making those decisions on what technologies you're going to have. Now, better together, talking about this concept of bringing employees and partners together. 40% of companies have invested in technologies to connect their customers with customer-facing staff. I'm going to talk about some examples of this today, but this is an interesting trend we're seeing with the consumer-led economy. And when you're giving that power to the consumer, the closer you are to them in multiple areas, the better. Better together also has to do with internal apps. More and more organizations and companies are starting to do this. 44% have invested to improve the connections amongst employees. And all of these percentages are from the intelligence units study from The Economist of the 1,300 executives. And let's look at one more stat here, then I want to show you some examples of what we're talking about with these stats. So these 1,300 executives were also asked this question, which I thought was very interesting. In which of the following technologies has your company invested most to improve connections amongst employees? When you're thinking about your brand, you're thinking about your company, even starting from like internally, what are you looking at? Right now, executives are looking at email, document sharing, online collaboration tools. You do not even see mobile in this. But the same question was asked to the same executives over the next 3 years, what are going to be the most important tools? And again, you see popping right up into the front of the line is mobile apps. So mobile apps for external engagement, mobile apps for internal engagement, you're seeing this trend go on. So let me give you a couple examples of just what corporations are doing before we jump into examples of what's happening specifically at events. So one example I thought was great was what Chipotle is doing. Anyone on the phone doesn't have the Chipotle app, I'd suggest downloading it. It's a fun app. What's interesting about it is Chipotle had looked at how do we take the experience of the customer who comes into the long line during lunch, knows what they want, why don't we let them pick their burrito, pick what they want, let them pay right on the app, and then go right up to the front of the line to the smiling person behind the desk to hand them their burrito. You think about it with events. How many of us on this call have shown up at 8:15 in the morning to a line of 100 people deep, and you spend your first half an hour just like hacking away on emails? Why not have mobile be the VIP pass, the mobile line that gets people right up to the front? You think about that interaction and how you can start off someone's conference with just something that simple. Another one I think is interesting, if you haven't downloaded, the Triple Spot app from AAA. Now this is an interesting case study where AAA, it's about experiences, and it's about sharing experiences, and it shows how gamification and people showing their experiences is getting so popular. Not only are they promoting it out to their customers, but they're also promoting it out to their employees to be able to have that engagement back and forth. It's also kind of a fun app I think you should take a look at and think about how can my mobile app have a sharing, visual, social component to it, because we're seeing the popularity of that. And just to pull into a closer example of just what I've seen with Crowd Compass by Cvent, you know, Cvent is it's a big company. We're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, over 1,400 staff, and we have an app both for our events and internally. And I've seen firsthand what it's like. You know, so we do our corporate meeting summit every year. We did it last year. We had a mobile app. We're doing it this summer. We're having a mobile app. Not only do we like what we do for our customers, provide a great app, we did that for our own event, but we really pushed our employees at Crowd Compass by Cvent to be using the app, to be in the app, to be interacting with our customers, potential customers, at the conference, in person and through the app. And so thinking about this experience that the consumer has and the power they have with what they promote out about your company, your brand, your event, the more opportunities you have for positive touch points, mobile is one of them, is better. We also have Cvent University, because with over 1,400 staff and growing very fast at Crowd Compass by Cvent, we need to have that internal training system. Instead of just having a giant binder, right on the phone. So we have an app right for the internal sharing, internal learning. And a lot of companies are starting to do that. So whether you're looking at internal or external, you're looking at your event to have a mobile app at, sometimes it's a little confusing before people are starting. What are we going to do? And the biggest advice we give people is, first of all, you have to figure out how to connect the dots with mobile. Like maybe your most important thing is your attendees and your speakers, and you want to create that interaction. When you're looking at a mobile app vendor, you want to be thinking about, do you have the ability to be networking amongst those two? We've had another client who they're trying to connect not only with current attendees, but they want to connect with their past attendees. So let's say you have an attendee that didn't make it to the event. We're seeing clients actually promote their app for their event this year to people who attended last year but aren't making it this year. Oh, sorry you couldn't make it. Check out the lineup for this year. Check out the speakers. Download the app. Interact anyways. We want you to stay a part of the community. It's a great way to to revive people and get them back and create that future community. So the last trend I want to talk about is it's not 2004 anymore. So some of you on the phone might know Bad Girls, this TV show that didn't quite last too long. Well, mobile is definitely a different thing, and let's look at that. Sort of looking at the last 10 years of mobile, I want to ask a couple questions here. How many smart devices will be sold in 2014? So think about that. Phones, iPads, got your tablets. How many smart devices will be sold in 2014? The answer, 2 billion, over 2 billion. Smartphones and tablets will be sold in 2014. That's 7 times the number of PCs expected to be sold. Next question for you. And this fact I've been following for years, and being at 2014, it really kind of threw my head through a loop here. The question is, what year will digital ads overtake print ads? You got print ads on the left, you got digital ads on the right. What year will digital ads overtake print ads? The answer, next year. Okay, I remember looking at this fact in the beginning of 2012. Because I live in a mobile world, I was sure that digital has already overtaken print. And in 2012, I realized it's not even close. It's not even close. And you know what happened? I blinked. And then I blinked again. And all of a sudden it's 2014. And next year, 2015, for the first time ever, digital advertising is going to overtake print advertising. Last set of questions here before I pass it on to the case study examples. How many times a day do you check your phone? Think about that. Think about your own patterns, your own habits. How many times a day do you check your phone? The answer, the average smartphone user checks their phone 150 times a day. That's actually a low number for me. I think I look at it 3 times that. And spends 127 minutes using apps per day. Apps are really popular. People don't realize how much they actually use in their everyday life. Using it for Facebook, using it for Google Maps, using it for all your different sort of tracking things, for your entertainment. The average user has 65 apps installed on their phone. So just a little wrap up here of this first section of just thinking about what trends are happening out in society and thinking about how that's going to shift how we provide technology and mobile technology at our events. We're really looking at this as leaders step forward. So the new focus on customer demands strong leadership. And that's going to mean 3 big things. One is that winning over the consumer-led economy is going to require a multi-year approach. Now we're going to hear about this from Chelsea and Leanne today, of how year after year of using a mobile app at their event, how it got better and better and better. A lot of people are nervous because they want to get everything started at one time. It's all about delivering value and delivering more value each year, and that's how we're seeing success with mobile ad events. The second thing, keep in mind, implementing mobile engagement will take flexibility. There's 2 things when I talk about flexibility. One, you need to have a mobile app provider that has a content management system connected with their app that you, as an event planner, as a non-technical person, can upload the app, can change the colors, can change the icons, can send push notifications, can do any sort of edits. Because you need that flexibility, because events are a thing in motion right up until the end. We all know that. The second thing is creating that flexibility within your work environment, knowing that you're embarking on a new strategy, an entire new trend, and it's going to take time and flexibility, and you're going to do it one step at a time. And the last thing, just to keep in mind on a high level, is that mobile apps are still in the early days. Technically, we look at it, we still are in the early days. But it's moving fast. As you can see by the numbers, it's moving faster and faster, so you just need to be thinking about how and when you're going to use mobile at your events. So with that overview, I want to pass it over to the planners and just talk about a little bit of the case studies there. And Chelsea?
Hi, guys. When we started planning for our series of events last year, we knew that we wanted to get an app, but we weren't quite sure really about anything other than we wanted an app. So we started looking at the different companies and the vendors and the things that we had to offer. And we'd originally planned on finding a good company that was easy to work with, and then we'd use them each time that we needed a new app. The great thing that we found about Crowd Compass was that we had the ability to actually have this multi-event platform that, that Kevin was talking about, so that each person coming in would only need to download the app once, and then they could have all the events anytime that they needed to use them. This was good because we were using the app for both internal and external events. We had attorneys, and then we also had within our firm, and then we also had clients and potential clients coming too. So we needed something that was easy to use, easy to find, and easy to update with good information. So the first event that we had was an internal event, and it was really just based for people within our company. So there wasn't quite the stigma of having to have everything super perfect, but we didn't even have a problem with anything going wrong. We had I'm sorry, I just lost what I was thinking. We needed to have an easy place to access all the digital information that comes with an annual meeting, the financial reports, the agendas, the social events, and those kind of things. And then we also wanted a way to make the speakers feel good by getting them their bios and their pictures and contact information so people could reach out to them. And then the thing that was actually the biggest hit that we hadn't even planned on was the ability to have the maps within our app, so that we could actually enter in the map floor plans of each building and show where each event was. Something small like that turned out to be the biggest hit of the entire app for us. And then our next event was an external event for clients and potential clients, and we had nearly 200 people show up. And we had an app for this in years past, but it didn't actually get a whole lot of attention, so we weren't expecting a whole lot out of it, but we had actually had pretty good success with it this year. We had a couple of sponsors with this, so we were able to use the banner feature that came with the app, so we could actually promote different things going on and the different things that the sponsors were doing throughout the event. We used the speaker profiles again, and then the maps again were a big hit. And another thing that was important to us was the ability to turn off the social platform for this. With our internal event, we had pictures flying from Twitter, all of the goofy things people were doing at dinner. But for a client event, we wanted to be a little bit more careful about what information was getting put out there. And so it was really easy for us just to be able to go in and turn on and off the features that came with the platform that we wanted to use. And so I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about the selection process that we had. We really had to step back and think about what our real important things were when we were going about this. Privacy, again, was one thing. Our attorneys didn't want to get their important information out there that they really only care for clients and potential clients to have. And so we had a passcode entered into it, so people couldn't actually even find the event unless we gave them the passcode, and that really made our attorneys feel secure. And then, like I had said, we'd had an app in the past, and that was run by our technology team, and they were really just getting something out because that was kind of the new thing to do 2 years ago, was have an app for your event. And so this year when we started working with Crowd Compass and really started looking at everything that we had, marketing took this on and tried to make it a little more fun, a little more interactive, and a little more graphic and branded. And we really found that with the content management system that the Event Center had, that we were able to customize everything from the text in the background to the icons. We could actually create our own icons or use ones they already had. So that was really nice. And again, we were able to kind of learn as we went, because this was our first real major app that we had chosen. We didn't know a whole lot going into it. We didn't know the questions we were supposed to ask. We didn't know if there was anything, important that we just weren't thinking about. So what we were able to do was just kind of grow with the app being built. When we'd come across something that we hadn't thought about, we would be able to bring it up, and if it hadn't already been brought up to us, then we were able to make a quick decision and go with it, or change something that we already planned on doing but didn't work with some of the other customizations that we were making. So we just kind of had to learn as we went, for the most part. But and then the other thing that I actually told them that I wanted to put a bullet point in here was to speak about the great customer service that we ended up having. Before, during, and after the event went live, we had an issue with the privacy, to where we thought that we wanted a certain level of privacy, and then we decided that we needed to change our mind after the app had already gone live and was in the Apple Store, and we were nervous and didn't know what to do, and it was actually our fault that things had gone this way, and even though we had already paid for the app, it was done, it was over with, we shouldn't have even had to deal with it anymore, or Crowd Compass shouldn't have even had to deal with us anymore. They got on the phone and helped us come up with a new plan to change our privacy settings and kind of change the way the app was set up and resubmit it to Apple, and really made it a smooth process. So, so that is about all I have. I'm going to pass it on to Leanne.
Thanks, Chelsea. My name is Leanne. I'm with the American Public Power Association, and we are now doing apps for 4 annual events. We actually have 12 major conferences that we do each year, but we only do the apps for our 4 largest conferences, and those range in size from 300 to about 1,500 attendees. When we started with Crowd Compass, we were doing individual apps for each of those meetings, but now we're actually in the process of consolidating all of those into the multi-event app, and that's actually, we just refer to it as the umbrella app because everything fits underneath there. But if you can go online and download our app. We are not worried about the privacy settings on ours, so you can actually download the APPA Academy app, and you can see the couple of past events that we've already put into the app, and we'll be working on more within the next couple of months. But our experience was a little bit different from Chelsea's going into it, because we actually were not looking to do a mobile app. We had briefly considered it in meetings, whether or not this is something we wanted to do, and we kind of shot it down. We decided that a mobile app isn't going to do anything extra for us. It's going to cost money. It's going to create more work for us, and we're not really adding any value. Our attendees have everything they need. What is an app going to do for us? And that actually changed a couple years ago, because we had one of our members approached us, and they told us that we want to learn how to develop apps, and we need to practice, so we'd like to practice on you and develop an app for you for free. So when we had our member coming up to us and saying that we want to do this for you, it was pretty hard to say no, so we decided that was going to be our test case. And so, we were hesitant. We didn't see the demand. We didn't think that our attendees were going to be receptive. Our audience, for some of our conferences, tends to be a lot older, and we thought that they were going to be resistant to the new technology. And as I mentioned, we just didn't, know what the app was going to bring. But we plugged ahead, and it was a bit of a learning experience, especially for me. When we created our first app, I actually didn't have a smartphone yet. So, when we were going through the process and we were just trying to review the app, I was literally borrowing a smartphone from my boss and, asking her if I could use her personal phone to, proof the app and just to see what everything looked like. And I mean, not only did I not have a smartphone at that point, but I'm not a very technical person. I I'd never developed an app. I had never even used an app before. So I was trying to sit and strategize on what are we going to do with this. What are we going to do with this app? And I'm not even sure what an app is supposed to be able to do. So I'm trying to come up with ideas of what we can do with this app with absolutely no guidance. But we had a very mixed review from that first app. The good news is that it turned out pretty well. It was a very basic app, but the bad news is that you don't really get a lot of accountability when one of your members is building it for you for free. So we had timeline issues. We had anytime we wanted to submit information to the app, we wanted to upload our content, and we had to literally send an email to them and ask someone else to, add a speaker or change the spelling of a name, change a room number. Anything that happened, we had to send an email to someone else and wait for them to respond. And you can't complain when they're doing it for free and when it's your member and that you're trying to keep happy anyway. But, when they go on vacation for 2 weeks and don't tell you and all of a sudden you don't know what's going on, it can give you a little bit of heartburn, I can tell you that much. So it was definitely a learning experience, and I'm losing my notes. I'm losing my place on my notes here, but so that was the first problem. There was just no accountability. We had no sense of timeline. We weren't able to promote the app ahead of time. I think we only announced that we were launching this app about 2 days before the conference began, so some of our attendees were already en route or had already arrived in the city before we even announced that we were having this app, just because we were so worried about what was going to happen because we didn't have any kind of, we weren't getting any feedback, we weren't getting any kind of timely responses, that we just weren't confident. We were ready to, pull the plug at any minute. So the look and feel of it was very basic. Really, the only functions that first app had was you could look at the conference program on it. You could see which sessions were going on, and we did have they did have the interactive floor maps where you could, see what you could plot where your sessions were on a floor map, and you could see where to go and how to get to your rooms. And despite all of the problems we had with the app, we ended up getting a great response. I think a third of our attendees downloaded the app that first year, despite our not being able to market it at all, and they loved those two functions. Just the fact that they didn't have to carry around that, bulky conference program with them. They could just use their phone, and the fact that they could find the rooms was enough for them, and they gave us rave reviews. So we decided after that we definitely wanted to push ahead, but our number one lesson was we don't want to rely on someone else to build it for us for free again. It was a hard experience, and so we knew from that a few of the features that we wanted to make sure that we had, and we wanted to make sure that we worked with someone who knew what they were doing, who wasn't just trying to practice or learn on their own, and who we'd have some kind of accountability or we could have a professional relationship with. So we ended up going with Crowd Compass, and it was a fantastic experience from my point of view, at least, being the person who had to design and set up the app. The number one feature that I love about the Crowd Compass is that we have the online event center, so I can do everything myself. I'm a do-it-yourself person at heart. I want to be able to make all of the changes. I want to be able to put all my data in, and I want to be able to see those results coming through. So with the event center that Crowd Compass gives us, we can input all of our data directly. We can do that either plugging in information about a session or an attendee or a speaker individually on the website one at a time, or I can import it as an Excel spreadsheet and just do everything in a big block. I find that I do it both ways, just depending what kind of information I'm inputting, where I am in the process. So it makes it very easy, but it's not just being able to input that initial data and versus the old app. The first time we had done it, they couldn't even tell me what format. Like when I tried to tell them, tried to ask them, I want to send you my program information. Do you want it in a Word document or an Excel document? They couldn't even answer basic questions like that. So just having a little bit of structure and having that ability to do it all myself was really liberating. But Crowd Compass about 6 months ago actually upgraded their event center, so now it's not just that I can input all the information and make real-time changes in the app. So if I get on site and I need to change the spelling of someone's name, I can do it easy. But we can also customize all of the looks of our conference, as Chelsea was mentioning. So we have a couple of graphic designers on our staff who help us with the images that we put on the app, but now they can also go through and customize the colors and all the very granular information, like what color is showing up on the menus of the app. So now we can customize all that to fit with our overall conference look and feel. But they also have the pre-made packages, so if our designers don't have time to do that, we can go through and, I can just pick, this is close enough or these are the colors I like, and I don't have to worry about all of the, highly detailed information. So when we moved to Crowd Compass, they did not have the umbrella app capabilities yet, so everything was an individual app. And when they moved and they started launching that capabilities last year, we had a big debate within the office whether or not we wanted to continue doing the individual apps or move to the multi-event app. And ultimately, we decided to move to the multi-event app. So we've done now 2 of our conferences in that multi-event app, and we've got a couple more coming up this spring and summer. But we decided that move made sense for us. First of all, the number one reason, head and shoulders above anything else, is that it now takes us a lot less time to develop any of our apps. The app has already been approved by the Apple. It's in the Apple Store. It's approved by Android. So it shaves a couple of weeks off of the approval process for the app. So that means that I have those extra couple of weeks in which to put my app together, get our program to final shape, so there's less last-minute changes going into it. But in addition to that, we also have a lot of repeat users, attendees who not only attend the same meeting every year, but attendees who attend multiple meetings. So this makes it easier for them. They don't have to download multiple apps. They don't have to create multiple profiles. They can do it all once, and it saves their information. We also learned, because we've been doing this now for a little over a year, that our attendees were not deleting the apps after the conference. They were saving them. They were going back and referring to them later. So they would take notes during the conference on their apps, either notes on the sessions and on the speakers they were hearing. They would make notes about people that they met. They would use it kind of as a replacement for collecting business cards. So since they were saving those apps and collecting all that information anyway, creating the one app for them to look at makes it a lot easier, so they're not having to sort through multiple apps on their phone. But the overall app also helped us support just our branding efforts. We were trying to, brand all of our individual conferences as this APPA Academy anyway. So it helps with our branding efforts, and it also just makes it easier now for us to market the app. We have standard language that we use about how to download the app and what to do when you get into the app, how to set up your profile. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we do it. So it was a good experience, and we're very happy with that change so far. So another one of the major advantages that we're seeing from Crowd Compass versus, this do-it-yourself app that we had tried is, we're seeing, the changes right away. And it's not just those small changes like being able to change a room assignment, which, can happen just at the spur of a moment. It can happen at any time when you're already on site at the meeting, or changing those typos or misspelled names. You hate it. Trust me, you do not want to be at the conference and have a speaker tell you that their name is misspelled and you can't go and fix it on the app. No one's going to understand why you can't do that, and you having to email someone a couple of time zones away, wait for them to respond to you. It's not a good way to do it. But so we're able to make those changes, adding our on-site registrants to that attendee list in real time as they're registering at the desk, sending out any new push notifications if something is going on at the conference that people need to know about. We can not only do all of those small changes online, but we can also make big changes that we need to. If you need to add or change your icons on the app, if you need to reorder the icons, you're able to do all of that. And we actually did do that at one of our conferences last fall. We had to add an icon in the middle of the conference. So we were able to do that all in real time without even having to contact tech support. So it was very easy for us to do. If you look at the image on this slide, it's showing you kind of an example that you can, for the icons showing up on your app, it gives you, preset packages that you can choose. So you can pick the look and feel of your icons, but then within each of those packages, you can also decide individually which ones you want to use. So again, when we did that at one of our conferences last year, we actually had decided there's another option that instead of using their pre-designed images for the icons, you can create customized ones and upload your own. And we had done that for our fall conference, but then when we launched this icon in the middle of the conference, we had forgotten to create an icon for it. So we were able to go in, use one of their pre-created, preset icons, and use that for the one that we needed on site. The tech support is also great, we found. They were very responsive. In my experience, I'd say at least 99% of the tech support issues you're going to have are during the development phase, not necessarily on-site at the conference. I actually didn't have any, so I can't speak to that, but I can tell you that we had a lot of issues going into it. Just having been through this a few times, every one of our conferences throws a little bit of a curve at me. There's something different going on. And just trying to figure out how the process works and what to do with it, I felt like I had to contact tech support a lot. They were always responsive. We always got some kind of email or response within, I'd say, 2 hours of me sending in my request for help. Even if they weren't able to resolve the problem immediately, I would at least get that acknowledgement, just saying, we got your request for help. We're looking into it. It's gonna, we're going to get back, it's going to take us a few hours to resolve this issue or figure it out, but we're going to get back to you. And then the issue was always resolved within 24 hours. So we were extraordinarily pleased with that. It's, I'm not used to even getting that response, even from like my colleagues on staff here, always saying that, if I have an issue, at least acknowledge that you've received my issue and you're working on it, even if you can't resolve it immediately. So that was great. An example of that, of something that we were contacting tech support for, is we have an icon on our app for the attendee list, so people can go in and they can search and see who else is at the conference. And the attendee list, it was sorted by name, but we also wanted to find a way to sort the attendee list by state. So since we have attendees from all over the country, if we had attendees coming from Michigan and they wanted to find out who else from the state of Michigan is here, they could look at the attendee list and they could view it that way. So that was an example of when we were contacting tech support to find out, how do we do this? What kind of information do we need to put in, or how do we set up those filters? And they were great about responding. So another advantage that we found was that we can make edits even the day of the event, like I mentioned. So last fall, one of our conferences, the icon that I mentioned we had added in the middle of the conference was this particular conference had a survey component. We had an event during our conference where we had asked our members to submit videos to us ahead of time, and then at one of the receptions, we played all of the videos and asked all of the attendees to vote for their favorite, and we were going to recognize the audience's favorite video at our closing reception on the last day. So we knew we were going to do this survey, and we've done this in the past, and we've just used paper ballots, but we wanted to see if we could do it using the app. But the question that we kept coming up with on staff is, how do we keep people from responding to the survey and voting for their favorite video or voting for whatever utility or whatever member companies that they want to vote for before we've actually aired these videos. You don't want someone just voting for their friend's company and locking in their vote before we've even had a chance to show the videos. So we worked with tech support. They told us and they gave us instructions on how to do this ahead of time. So we worked with them to create the survey ahead of time, and pretty much the way we resolved it is they told us you don't have to, just don't post the icon until you're ready for people to start voting. So we waited until the day of the event, maybe an hour before that event was beginning. We launched the icon with the survey. People could go in then during the reception and after. They could vote for their favorites, and then once the event was done, we gave people half an hour to finish casting their votes, and then we closed it down. We deleted the survey icon off the app so they could no longer go in and vote, and then we were able to instantly retrieve all of the results from that voting from the website, so we weren't stuck counting paper ballots this year. So that's one of the examples of what we did on the day of the app. As far as sponsorship, we've tried to keep it very easy on ourselves, and we've only had one mobile app sponsor since we moved to CrowdCompass. We have one affiliate company that has agreed to sponsor all 4 apps for 1 year, and they did that for the first year, and now they've renewed that, so we're now in our 2nd year of using CrowdCompass. And, that sponsorship is just enough to cover all of our development costs, and that's it. Now, if you actually opened up our app, you'd see multiple logos as companies listed as our app sponsors. That's just because our affiliate, who is our one sponsor, will then go out and they'll find other partners to share those costs with them. We're happy to put those logos in there. We just tell them when we need the logos by so we can incorporate it into our graphics. And our main concern with the sponsorship right now is we're just trying to cover our costs. We have another sponsorship program for our conferences. We're not trying to make any money off this app sponsor. We're just trying to cover those basic costs. But now that we're getting a little more comfortable with this, we're looking ahead. We're considering options for what we might do in the future. We might decide to use more sponsors. We're considering maybe using some of those banner ads. We haven't really done that in the past, and I know some of my colleagues would love to do it. Some are very hesitant, so we're kind of erring on the side of caution right now. We've started talking about whether or not we want to use those push notifications as a way to help to help market our sponsors, or to give them that extra push. Like if the sponsor's having a reception, we could use that app, use that push notification to remind people to go to that reception. But again, right now we're still on the fence on that. We haven't started doing it, and one reason is that we want to we're still kind of developing our own best practices as far as those push notifications, wanting to make sure we don't send out too many notifications where people are going to start blocking us or not, accepting our notices. So at this point, though, I feel confident that we would keep doing the apps even if we didn't have any sponsors. We've just gotten that much feedback. So just going back to the app selection process and how we ended up with CrowdCompass, we were thinking about what was important to us. We wanted to make sure that the features were going to meet our needs. And what that really goes back down to is when I say meet our needs here, I mean met my needs as far as being able to have that responsive design, being able to have that do-it-yourself capability, so I could go in and kind of control the development of the app, inputting the information myself, making the changes myself, and having that accountability then that we needed if we were on a deadline. We were also just looking for the solid replacement for our printed booklet, looking through our conference program and the materials that we gave to attendees and figuring out, what can we do with this? How can we make this better? And, initially that was all we were looking for, but what we've been able to do since then, and, that's kind of where we were coming from when we ended up with CrowdCompass, is when we were looking at the different companies, we really liked the ability to kind of create those networks, to have people exchange information with each other with the app, so they don't have to trade business cards. They can do it all through their phones. But what we've really been surprised about is how much more we're getting out of the app. Every time we do it, we're finding new ways to incorporate things. So in the beginning, even after that initial experiment, even after we moved to CrowdCompass, we were still doing a pretty basic app, but we've slowly started using more and more of the features that were available to us. I mentioned the survey, but there's a social media component, which we only turned on for the first time at one of our conferences last fall to allow people to connect to Facebook or Twitter through the app. So we had been very hesitant to get involved with that. We've started adding conference presentations onto the app, so people who are attending a session can follow along with speaker presentations as they that we've received ahead of time so they can follow along in the app on their devices. Actually, we've been able to entirely phase out. We used to have, for one of our events, we had an expo, a vendor expo, and we've been able to entirely phase out our expo directory. And all of those floor plans and descriptions are all just available through our app now. So that's something that we've actually saved a lot of money on printing on, that we don't have to do that anymore. And I'm actually very excited that we've just made the decision that starting with our major conference this summer, we're going to stop printing out registration lists to hand out to all of our attendees, and we're just going to provide the registration list through the app. So that's something we never really thought that we were going to be able to do, but as we've gotten more comfortable with this, and as we've seen, people increasingly download and use our app at every conference, we feel confident that we won't get a lot of pushback from that. And it not only saves us time and money on printing the apps, it's better for the environment, and it fits into our overall trying green meetings effort that we're doing. And it's one more reason to encourage people to download the app. And I've actually had colleagues now starting to talk about, and I'm still skeptical, but I have some colleagues starting to talk about the day when we don't need to print a conference program anymore. And I'm not sure that if that day is coming or not, but it's just the fact that people are starting to talk about it is really quite surprising in my organization. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Kevin.
Great. Thanks so much, Leanne. I'd say, Leanne, you are not far off from having all of everything on mobile. I look at your story just listening to this of you went from flip phone to all mobile, and I could see you just going all the way very, very soon. So thanks so much, Chelsea and Leanne. Just really great. I think we heard a lot of whys. I actually want to jump to the last section, just so we have a couple time for a couple questions. It's a little bit tight. Just a reminder to everybody on the phone. We're going to finish this last section. I want to talk about expectations from rookies to pros, and just see if we can get a tip or two from Leanne or Chelsea before we wrap things up. We'll take a couple questions, but then after the webinar, if you fill out the survey, you get the free ebook on mobile apps for events, and we will also be sending people a blog post. We're going to consolidate all the questions and all the answers, and we'll send it to you as well. So if we don't get time for your question today, we will put it in a blog post, and we'll send it out to you if you get that survey filled out so we have your information. With that said, let's just jump on the last slide here before we go to Q&A. So some tips from the first-time app users to the pros. There's different people on this phone here. Some have never used mobile and they want to make that jump. Some have just done it for the first time. And then there's others who have the multi-event app, multiple events. They've been doing it for years. So just a few bullet points to look at here is if you're a first-time app user, what we really recommend at Crowd Compass by Cvent is to have our clients think about let's just deliver value and make it work. Have the correct schedule. If you need to do any edits, you can do that. Thinking about having different options. When you're picking that vendor, you want to pick a vendor that's just going to give you everything. You don't want to have to sit there in advance and guess, predict the future, as we heard from Chelsea. What are you going to need or what are you not going to need? What are you going to buy? What are you not going to buy? You should just get an app that just gives you everything at once. It makes it a lot easier. And the big thing with our first-time app users is just get it done, have a great experience, make it mobile, and you're going to learn from there. And as you heard from our speakers today, we're seeing that over and over and over again, that first-time app is always a success. And then you look at how do you go pro. So going pro is doing it better year after year after year, maybe having custom icons, maybe thinking more creatively about sponsorship, maybe having more sponsors, maybe having heavier marketing, maybe thinking about what are the real needs we want to leverage mobile to do better at our conference this year, or how can we use push notifications to deliver messages from them. So when you're taking mobile on for the first time, don't think you have to do 100% of the bells and whistles. A lot of times what we see is people do 20% of what we have available to them, and people are extremely happy. So with that said, we pretty much have to get to Q&A. I just thought I'd ask Leanne and Chelsea, and we'll start with you, Leanne, if you could give one tip for the first-time app user, what would that be? And then we'll have Chelsea answer.
I would say for the first-time user, keep it simple. Don't try and do too much. Just figure out what the basic functions are that your attendees would benefit from, and kind of limit yourself to that. And for us, that was the conference program, just being able to put in your sessions, and especially if you have multiple events going on at the same time, so people can create their customized schedule or so they can get their program on the app, and the floor plans. That was kind of our starting point. And
we hear that a lot as the first starting point.
Yeah, we didn't have the capability the very first time we did an app to do a lot, but that was kind of what we did, and we found that was really enough for most people. Just they wanted to be able to have something on their phone, to be able to not carry the paper around. It was a great opportunity for them. I'd say once you feel more experienced, once you're kind of the pro, or you've done one or two of these, you can start expanding. And at least our experience with CrowdCompass is you're not really beta testing any of this. Everything's settled and done. All the features they're out there, they're ready to be used. You don't have to worry about, if I do this survey, is it going to break down on me? It's just a question of, are you comfortable doing this? And we've had some steps along the way where we do the transition period. So we might still, with our registration list this year, have paper copies, a small stack of them available to hand out if anyone really raises a fuss. But we expect that to be minimal. And I think it's just starting the more you do it, the more you're going to feel comfortable doing it, and the more you can introduce. Especially, you can customizing the look and feel of the app, sending out including more information, transitioning to just using the app for some information. But that would be my advice. Just to start very simple, and as you go along and as you build that comfort level, just go wild with it.
I could see it. And Leanne, I'm going to have you back on a webinar in a year and a half from now when you're 100% mobile. I know you're close. Chelsea, what would you say a first-time app user, if you're going to give one piece of advice for a first-time app user, what would be the piece of advice that you would give?
We actually went into this starting small and not trying to get too much in. And I would say that the one thing that I would suggest is just to leave yourself open with enough time to change and adapt to the capabilities that CrowdCompass has given us, just because there are things that we hadn't thought about and things that you may think aren't important that change, or you figure out that you've gotten everything done that you had originally planned on doing in the app, and then think of new things that you can do and probably have time to do. And so I would just say start way more ahead of time than you think that you even need to.
Great.
Excellent. Well, I think we should conclude things now, but I really appreciate everybody's information. Thank you so much, Kevin, Leanne, and Chelsea. It was just really packed with info, and really appreciate everybody's expertise and input there. As we close out the presentation, just a few important pieces of information we'd like to share. There were a number of great questions that came in, and those are going to get fielded. We have a Take 10 feature, which is offered either on our website, meetingsfocus.com, or via our Webinar Wrap e-newsletters that provide answers to some of the key questions that we were not able to get to. And the presenters will answer some of the questions submitted by the participants there. So look for either an email alerting you to visit Take 10 or for the Webinar Wrap e-newsletter in your inbox. Please be sure to join us also for our upcoming webinars, Social Tsunami, How to Drink from the Information Fire Hose Using a Straw, on Wednesday, February 26th at 1 p.m. Eastern, presented by James Fellows, president of Meeting You. And we also have Compliments of the House, a planner's guide to navigating hotel promotions, coming up on Wednesday, March 5th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, presented by Eric Eden, vice president of marketing at Cvent. Also available on our website, you will find a vault of information on past webinars available for you to view at any time at your convenience. You just visit webinars to learn about these events, or click On Demand Webinars and watch now. And following today's webinar, you will be redirected to a short survey submitted by Crowd Compass CVent. Upon completion, you will be redirected to today's webinar club page and emailed the ebook, Mobile Apps, the New Event Essential. Each webinar has their own unique webinar club page where you can download today's presentation, view the webinar on demand, and obtain CMP credit instructions and so much more. Today's webinar club page is meetingsfocus.com/webinar club mobile. If you are not automatically redirected, you may also visit our website under webinars and click Webinar Club. Thanks again so much to Kevin Long, Leanne Nienhuis, and Chelsea Morris, today's presenters, and to all of you for joining us for this special webinar event. Have a great day, and we hope to see you all again soon.